the SM Media Podcast Network. Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of our SM Media's Countdown to Cheltenham 2025. We are only 12 sleeps away as we record this, so we are near enough at the kind of 10-day mark. It's always good when you get to that stage. When the start of March comes, it's kind of just Cheltenham for us from now on. I'm Scotty Pike, always a pleasure, and it's always a delight to be joined by from the Scottish Daily Mail, Callum McClurkin.
Hi there, yeah, no, really close now. Seen the final gallops and final touches being put on, the weights are out, so it's kind of whittling that down, and yeah, it's beginning to kind of pile up your kind of odds-on favourites to take on, odds-on favourites to back, and trying to see value elsewhere. So yeah, I mean, you can really kind of get a decent kind of look at all 28 races now between now and the start of the festival.
The question I've got for you is, were you one of the very few who went in on Constitution Hill after the gallop yesterday?
No.
Nonsense.
I mean, you learn next to nothing. I mean, it's a positive seeing him, and he pulled away from two mid 120 horses, fine, but I haven't learnt much there at all. So he's fitting well. Maybe it's kind of a kind of tactic. Well, I'll put my public gallop, might frighten the mares away, make it easier for him. But no, it's certainly not a negative, if it's a positive. But yeah, you wouldn't be backing horses on gallops now at this time out. I think the two mares will turn up against him. They'll ask a different question, but he looks in good health. He looks like he's going forward. You have just one minor quibble of is that extra gear there? The impression seems to be that it will, but you won't find that out in the gallop. You'll find that out on the day, and you might as well wait to see kind of all the information, vibes, and market moves then, and then play.
And we do have some good news. We will have our Cheltenham Festival preview show that will be going out on Sunday at 5 o'clock. So stay tuned for that. We will be recording that today with the intention of it going out on Sunday. So we're at that stage. We will have our thoughts on all the grade ones, and stay tuned for some of our best bets for the meeting in that. We'll move into our show this week. We have got a few questions, and obviously we'll cover anti-post later on. We don't have any picks, but we'll obviously look at the weights our horses have got, and obviously some sad news relating to our anti-post that we'll cover later in the show. We'll start with the first question, though. Rank all 4 of the days at the festival best to least, and why?
Oh yeah, I think Tuesday's the best.
Yeah. You're more excited getting into the Tuesday. Like, there's a wee excitement buzz there, and then
it's the first day, isn't it? Yeah, the excitement. In particular this year, Champion Hurdle, which looks a good dust up. The Mayor's Hurdle, it's a bit weaker, but it looks a reasonable kind of betting heat.
Yeah.
Now the Supreme looks good, but potential world-class operator against 4 or 5 very useful types in behind. It's the same story in the Arkle. And the Ultimate's usually a decent handicap, might be a bit weaker this year with the new rules to National Hunt Chase handicap, which is probably improving the National Hunt Chase a little bit.
10 to 1 in the field. Yeah, in the Ultima.
Which is decent at this stage. And yeah, so that's probably the best day. I'd put the Friday second now, with Galloping Deschamps' presence in the Gold Cup. I like the fact that the Mayor's Chase has been moved forward. It's an okay renewal this year. I think the Triumph is a really strong race. I've always liked the Albert Bartlett. It does tail off towards the end a little bit, but the Martin Pipe's always a good race as well. I've got more betting interest in Hunter's Chase than any other race at Cheltenham Festival this year, which is probably shows you where I am in the in the kind of grand spectrum of the book. That's absolutely wafer thin with next to no value at all in it. So I would say that's second in. Probably the Thursday is third now for me.
Okay.
The Ryanair's going to be a good enough race, fact to file in it. So there's a stairs hurdle with Tia Hooper, and you're getting to see two decent operators there. I like the plate as a handicap as well. The Kim Muir, there's normally a decent punt in there. The pair tops, I think, is it's one of the more competitive handicaps as well as hurdle with the qualifying series. I mean, I think that's fine. The Mares Novices at the start of the day is probably going to be quite a good race as well. So I think that's probably good. And the Wednesday, champion bumpers a race I don't like. I just really don't care about it too much. The cross country I think could be binned. Champion chase, it's a division that continually falls apart sometimes, and I think John want to win that, but there's a great kind of depth, and that's supposed to be kind of the centrepiece of it. But it does get off to a strong start with the Brown Advisory and the Turners in there, so you're seeing two class operators, but I think the supporting structure around the Wednesday really it's pretty poor actually, I think.
I would say Tuesday's the best day, always, and I think this year
I
obviously.
think it changes every year for me. I think the
Yeah,
nature of the races and the nature of it, and particularly with this kind of move around in the schedule this year, it's harder to gauge.
I mean, like for example, like, I'm not a massive fan of the Thursday. I never have been. Not just for the fact that I genuinely never really seem to do well on the Thursday, but I think this year, like you've obviously got a Ryanair, which is quite competitive. I think the novice handicap will actually be a very good race. I think it is very, very intriguing to see looking at the kind of horses entered and the weights they've been given. I think we're in line for a really good handicap. I think moving the Mares Novice, I think that looks an open renewal this year. You've got the stairs hurdle. I think I'm probably going to go Tuesday, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, probably similar to you at the moment. Like the Friday's always been to me it's the showpiece. I've always said, and I don't know whether you agree with me on this. The Friday is the Gold Cup and everything else. Like the Gold Cup is as it probably should be, but it seems to me like you've got like there's no really much point in having other races because the Gold Cup is just the centerpiece of that day. Whereas I think the other 3 days like the champion hurdle, you've got the Supreme to start, you've got the Arkle, the Wednesday champion chase, but you've got two really good grade ones before that. The Thursday, you've got the kind of two races, which are the Ryanair and the Stairs are probably kind of even. I think they're even in prize money. But the Friday, it's the Gold Cup, and you're just waiting to that race. Whereas I think this year, because it's more open, and I think they've moved the Mayor's Chase, and then after the Gold Cup, you're a bit burnt out. You just want it kind of over. But I think this year might be a bit different because the Gold Cup's been moved.
Yeah, and you've got Galopin de Champs is a star attraction
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Along with Constitution Hill, I mean, those are the two horses you would want to see in the 2 days, and they're running Tuesday and Friday, so it's all about the horses in that aspect, and what you'd enjoy. I mean, if you're having a good week, you want it to continue and continue and continue. If you're in a bad week, you'd probably think, no, I'll watch Galopin de Champs hack in, and that'll be me.
Well, I'll tell you an example. My dad and his pals used to go every single year, and they would always used to leave after the Gold Cup to beat the traffic. So
Hmm.
I don't know if that's just ingrained into me. So like after the Gold Cup, you're just in a bit of like you've either won or lost there. You're not very, very rarely. I mean, apart from the year Ellie Mae and Billy Way won, which was 3 years ago, I've very rarely been like waiting on stuff after the Gold Cup. It's always been the Gold Cups that kind of make a great race for your whole week for me.
Yeah, and people have different impressions and different things. Like punting wise, I mean, Friday's pretty kind overall to me. That year we're talking about, I think 6 at 7,
Yeah,
which was quite extraordinary. But the Gold
everything
Cup, I
just
mean,
seemed to get in that year, didn't it?
yeah, it's a COVID year with like 11 favourites won,
Yeah,
which is the most in modern festival history anyway. So, yeah, I mean, it sometimes it aligns, sometimes it doesn't. I think that I would probably be the same as you, that Thursday would probably usually be the last day. It'd be interesting to see whether that novice handicap is essentially the same race as a plate, but just a novice kind of handicap chase. So some of them will probably go in there. So we can have a direct comparison
hmm
between the novices and the open handicappers directly there. So yeah, I mean, you've got to kind of see the changes moves about. The cross country movement of handicap does make things more competitive. So I mean, maybe have to kind of ascertain how well the changes have before you have a kind of a set itinerary. But yeah, I think at the moment it'll be shaping up that way.
yeah. We'll move into our next question. It's preview night season. Obviously, when it gets to this kind of 2 weeks to go, preview nights are rare. I've watched one. I watched the Boyle Sports one, which will maybe have an answer to the next question. You can afford people to join you, two guys, in a Cheltenham preview night. Who would it be? Can I go first? Because I really like this guy. I really thought he was. I don't know if you've seen the Boyle Sports one.
Yes, I did.
I think Brian Cooper is excellent. I think he's an excellent judge. Really think he's well spoken. I think Brian Cooper would actually be the top of my list at the moment.
Yeah, no, I would go along with that. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that are very good in different ways, aren't they? Yeah, Brian Cooper's very informed, and he did that kind of champ by thing at the start of the year as well. It was pretty good. So yeah, he's definitely clued up and knows the game really well. So yeah, I would go along with you in that.
Um, our old friend Gavin Lynch, I think, would have been there for me.
Yeah, in depth knowledge. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
always a plus.
I've always liked Tony Keenan.
So did I. Yeah, he would be in my list as well.
So are we kind of agreement in three at the moment?
Yeah,
Maybe
I
four.
mean, this is preview nights. I mean, the thing about it is, you need to trust your opinion more than anybody else's,
Yeah.
no matter who it is. So I mean, you'd be there for like, I mean, Johnny Deneen for entertainment value, definitely, and things
I
like
thought
that.
him and Sharp were quite funny, but like they're just clearly just
Yeah,
a kind of
and you need
slagging
that
match
because
each other.
it's
Yeah.
2 hours long. You know, it can drag on. You need something to kind of intersperse the seriousness. Like if you're talking about like weights and measures and ratings for 2 hours, you know, people can glaze over and things like that. So yeah, it's all about kind of striking the right balance, really, isn't it?
I like any time I've listened to Dan Skelton, especially kind of Cheltenham related, he's he's not giving you everything. Like he's not giving you information on every single horse, but he's like, this is where it's going. Like I know obviously you've got the horse in the Coral Cup, be aware. Said right away, we're going to the Coral Cup, it's been the plan all season. Valgrind County Hurdle. He's giving you information, and I'm not like knocking David Casey here. I think he's really well spoken, but you can tell he's like not telling you much with despite telling you something. Like for example, like I'm being a bit mischievous here, but are you telling me that Kawabunga wasn't ruled out before he was somebody in the panel was bigging it up and he was like you could see him kind of like should I say, should I not? So that's kind of me. I would probably go Dan Skelton, Brian Cooper, Tony Keenan, Gavin Lynch, but I think you want people on a panel who will give you a bit more than kind of just hide and stuff. I get it's Willie Mullins. I get everybody wants to know what's happening, but I just felt at times David Casey was hiding too much, and it made him like not the best. I thought in that discussion. I don't know if it's just me, but that's kind of where I was.
Yeah, but I mean, it's all down to interpretation. I mean, I wouldn't really realistically expect big yards with a lot of options to
Mhm.
kind of reveal all at the moment. They probably don't know themselves. I
Yeah, I
don't think
get
he
that.
was saying anything about Kawabunga at all. I think that probably happened after it was probably recorded before. I don't think they'd hide something like that. Um, but yeah, he's obviously going to play cards close to his chest. You know, relates of final plan and jockey book is because the Mullins yard in particular have so many options and
Yeah,
so many cards to play that they're going to spread it around and play them and finalise them quite late. It's down to interpretation. I mean, like Dan Skelton, his one on one in the racing post and the big Sunday read was excellent. And I
hmm
think he's good in that kind of um, part of things. You know, he's less good in other parts, but yeah, he's good in that regard. Um, I think they'll be open enough and tell you. I mean, tell you tell you certain things, you know, but nothing's gospel and nothing's certain in this game
yeah,
either. You know, so you've got to kind of use your own gumption to try and sift out, you know, what what's meaningful information and what isn't. And also the important thing is, you know, don't be overswayed by anyone else's opinion either. You know, you've got to kind of form your own and see, well, have I thought about this race the way Tony Keen's thinking about it or Johnny Deneen's thinking about it? Or can I see that other angle? Or does that back up my opinion? Or is that what I wanted to hear? You know, so I think the important thing with these things is balance and, you know, going in with your own ideas and your own convictions and not being overly swayed either way, like, you know, being too concrete in your own opinion being backed up or too against your original opinion. Particularly when they've not in many bets anti-post either. You know, you don't really need to be swayed. You're not really holding a position, which is a good thing because you can just play it as you can see it quite clearly in the day.
yeah.
So yeah, all about balance, and different people like different things, and different people in different kind of panels. So the great thing is that there's so many of them that there's so many options for people to pick and choose what they like.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll move into our final question before we look at performances. Who will have more winners at the festival, Britain or Willie Mullins?
This is an interesting one because you think, well, naturally you think, well, Britain more handicap options, that'll probably see them over the line over the course of 4 days, but it was 9 each last year, and you're looking at something pretty similar again, I think. You can see Willie Mullins easily getting 8.
I think ten's his record. I think ten's his most, I
Yeah, you
think.
can easily see him getting 10 as well. But
Yeah.
it's they're both in that 8 to 10 ballpark for me, I think. And Willie Mullins is getting more kind of nailed on odds on shots.
No debate about the Presbyterian Cup. It's one.
No, there's no debate at all.
Yeah.
And I think Ireland actually looked stronger than anticipated in some of the handicaps as well. Look at the top of the market. Some of them aren't harshly treated. And I think some of them have got good kind of sneaky each way chances. That I think the lesser yards and better Nick, I think they're kind of well treated. I think they've got good chances. So yeah, I think the thing is that maybe Nicky Henderson's get better, and he'll pick up 2 or 3 at least. Dan Skelton, 2 or 3 at least. The others might chip in. Ben Pauling, probably one of them. But yeah, they're going to be doing well to get to double figures, and I had them in 9, and I had Willie Mullins on 9 as well. So if you offer me kind of 16 to 1 to draw, I would back that.
Yeah, I can see. I think it's very,
You know,
very
I can
tough.
see it being one winner either way. To be honest,
Yeah,
whether
yeah. I
it's
think
10-9 or 9-8, either way, I think that's what it's going to be. But it's quite close to call.
Yeah, I think it's certainly more close to calling the Presbyterian Cup. And again, like Willie, it depends how many he has in the first day. Like you can easily see him having a treble in the first day and a treble in the second day, and then he usually comes to life again in the Friday. So again, you could see him picking up
It's
10
a
winners
race
again.
he doesn't have. I mean, you wouldn't say that he'd have the Bartlett winner. You wouldn't say he'd have the Triumph winner. You wouldn't say he'd had the Stairs Hurdle winner. But pretty much every other graded race is a big chance in.
Yes, yeah,
The Champion Bumper now looks stronger, where 2 weeks ago he probably had next to nothing. So I mean, that's the kind of thing. And the county hurdle's probably there for him to plunder again.
hmm
Um, and if Paul Townhead rides in a handicap, that's going to be hugely, hugely significant.
yeah,
And Kopek to be will have a massive chance wherever he goes. I think he's plunging for the Martin Pipe right now. So he's going to nick 1 or 2 handicaps, and he's going to win 6 or 7 graded races.
yeah. I think he's again. Willie Mullins will probably dominate the festival. Speaking of Willie Mullins, we'll go into performances. We'll go to Thursday at Punchestown. We're going to obviously just run through his winners here. Well, we had obviously Hero, he had a treble, high class Hero, obviously getting off the mark over fences. Jade de Grugy putting in a really good performance, now 11-4 for the Mayor's Hurdle. And we have a new champion bumper favourite in the form of Game of Inches, who I thought was really, really impressive. And again, I think we are talking about him next season as a potential Turner's horse again. And those kind of Driscoll colours could be similar to Final Demand. Of the three, Callum, in terms of Cheltenham this year, who do you like?
None.
Okay.
No, I mean, Game of Inches, I think, is favourite and recency bias. Obviously, what he did is he's always got a leading chance, and he's powered away from them quite easily. But what's he beat this close out? 72. Yeah, I mean, he could dot up again. I think he'd want pretty soft ground to be effective. He's a big
Yeah.
old-fashioned strapping chaser.
We'll cover this later on in the day, well, obviously Sunday, but is this Patrick's ride, do you think?
It's either that or Copacabana, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
I would rather have Copacabana.
so would I.
I think he'd be maybe a bit more versatile, and maybe a bit more forward down the line. I think Game of Inches is obviously going to be a very good horse, regardless of what he does in a bumper. But I do think he might be kind of done for speed if it comes up decent. And the long term weather forecast suggests that it'll be good to soft kind of thing. There's not a lot of rain in there. I think there's 1 day of rain between now and 2 weeks' time, so you'd have to be a bit concerned about it. And I just think there's a bit of recency bias in there and a quick turnaround to consider as well. So no, they think a lot of him, and he's obviously got a chance, but at the prices, he wouldn't be for me really.
What about obviously like from what you said earlier about when we were talking about the champion hurdle, you seem to be thinking that Brighter Days Ahead and Lossmouth will go champion hurdle, which would make Jade de Grugy short price favourite for this.
Yeah, I wouldn't back her. I'm wary of horses potentially bouncing after one run from being out all season. and the mare's hurdle. Yeah, she's probably get the best form, but it's not head and shoulders
Yeah.
above everything else. She's got potential, and we went to Cheltenham last day, and she get a bad ride and maybe a bit unlucky, and her and Brighter Days Ahead were watching each other while Golden Ace won, but she was hanging around the new course, and the old course is it's going to be more pronounced with that with undulations. So it was kind of ducking and diving, and she finished fourth in what was effectively a three-runner race.
Mm-hmm.
At the line well. What she did from last to line was impressive, and Willie Mullins says there'll be more improvement to come. And naturally, you'd think, well, if there is, then she will win. But I think there's doubts at that price. You know, I think there's 6 or 7 far better favourites than that in that race. And she won the race that she was entitled to do. You know, she was given a lot of weight away as well. But I remember Galmaso winning this and people sleeping into her others, and she bombed out at the festival this time last year.
Yeah.
She could do the same.
High Class Hero has been, well, obviously I fancied him last year for the Bartlett. I thought he got a terrible ride. Just think he ran okay a couple of times this season over fences. He's entered in the Brown Advisory. You'd imagine he's playing for place money if he even goes.
Yeah, he's just part of a really strong Willie Mullins team in that, you know,
Yeah.
he's probably a bit part player like Katie Bourbon if he takes his chance, but it looks like they will. They might as well, you know. Maybe Lecky Watson are better, even Dancing City, and obviously the favourite Ballyburn. So, but the good thing is you've got rid of the 2.5. Where do you go?
Yeah.
You can't have that kind of classy horse in the National Hunt Chase handicap. So it's better for the race that they all run here, and you know he's going to run 4 or 5 of them. And he's reliable, consistent. Went missing like Dancing City. Kind of went missing a little bit in the Bartlett, and coming back to Cheltenham, you'd be a bit worried if the same thing happened
Yeah.
again.
The ride was
Um,
deplorable.
yeah,
Horrible.
you might get the same jockey on again
Yeah.
on the day, given the way the pecking order might work out. So yeah, I mean, you wait and see what they're like. He does have an each way chance. You know, he's doing it quite well this season, and he is improving as a chaser for sure. You know, he's definitely got his niche. He's definitely doing the right thing, right game. Might be a bit more interested at Punchestown at the end of the season.
We'll move just quickly a wee word on William Money, obviously winning the listed novice hurdle. Again, brilliant to see those colours win, especially after the day we'd all had on Wednesday, well, everybody had on Wednesday with Michael O'Sullivan. Just to see those colours win, very much entitled to take his chance in the Supreme as well. One thing I will say about this race, and we'll maybe cover this later on as well, the form line now, there is a form line developing with William Money's in with the likes of Kopek to board, and I know a horseshoe like work ahead. So it's going to be interesting to see if those three do line up against each other where they're at this point.
Yeah, they will be. They seem to be. You'll go supreme. I think soft ground might be quite important to him.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, again, what he did from the last line was very impressive. The way he opened up with soft ground, slushed away, and you can see his improvement from race to race. Can it continue at Cheltenham? I think it has to. But 12, 14 to 1 bracket each way. I think that sums up his chance. I think that sums up Work Ahead's chance as well at 10, 12 to 1. You're just thinking that if the favourite does everything right, you know, he's probably in a different league. You know, that's the kind of issue. And it's the issue in a lot of races that you're looking at, really, at Cheltenham at the moment.
We'll move into Saturday at Kempton. We'll go to the Pendle first. Rubo, who did a lot wrong in the race, didn't jump well at all, made a lot of mistakes. Again, you brought this up straight away after the race. Had a very hard time last time out behind Load of Sud. Coming back to win this, you've actually got to give him a lot of credit.
Got credit, and the ground was a lot softer than anticipated at
Yeah.
Kempton as well, which would not have suited him, even though Paul Nichols said it wasn't a problem. And he got the trip well. If he didn't, you know, he'd have been entitled to chuck it halfway. Didn't he boxed on, he outclassed him like you know you'd expect them to, but you know it was much more workmanlike than ever. I know Lodi Sud has 2 extra weeks to overcome that, but I'd be a bit concerned about his Arkle chance now. On the back of that, you would have kind of been hoping that Rubo would win a bit more impressively than he did. You know, okay, there's excuses there with the hard race at Warwick, but it may have left a small mark. They're going to freshen him up for entry. I mean, I might even have left him an extra week for air to get over that, because it's only like 19 days between Cheltenham and entry this year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's tricky, but he's bouncing back really well. You know, he was a very good. He looked like a kind of small, nimble, kind of 2 mile hurdler, really. So the fact he's made it as a chaser, scoping wise, doing quite well at a time where Paul Nicholls' yard really do need though kind of winners like that and horses like that to go to war with. So he did it well to knuckle down and prevail, but it's a good rung below form of what you require usually in a major spring festival down the line.
Let's move into the Adonis again. Ben Paulin having a really good season. I think there's quite a few things we can look at in this race. Mambo number 5 does have an entry for the Boodles. Again, like, do you think he's a contender in there? I'm just going to see. I don't actually know for a fact what he got. He was given a rating of 128, which, again, he's in with a shout in the Boodles. This race, though, is he maybe blotted his copybook too early?
No, I mean, it's Kempton form into Cheltenham. This fight just doesn't interest me. Whatever we are, you're a Kempton horse or you're a Cheltenham horse at this
Mm-hmm.
point of the year. You wouldn't back Rubo around Cheltenham, would you? I mean that's the kind of thing.
Would you back Mondo Man for the triumph if the ground was
No,
better?
no, no. I mean, he
Because
can't
that seemed to
sell.
be what Gary Moore was saying. It was all down to the ground.
See what he wants. He couldn't settle him, and the same thing's going to happen to Triumph, and it's going to be a miles better race. I mean, it's fancy land stuff. If you're backing something from that meeting into Cheltenham, A, it's too close. B, it's totally different, and C, it's a much lesser grade. Mambo number 5. Watch him win the Boodles now, but he can give an each way chance, like 12, 14 others do in a very competitive juvenile handicap. He's capitalised on the favourite failing to settle and it was too far back. He didn't either. He tried to pull him back to settle him, but he did it too far back and he actually got involved but didn't close enough. And maybe if he actually just let him stride on, he would have won anyway. And then go to Cheltenham and try and settle him. So, yeah, look, I mean, the only way Mondo Man has a chance at Cheltenham is if they don't sell him. If they don't, just let him stride on like Goshen was and think that his natural talent could somehow make him a player in it. They obviously think a great deal of him.
Mhm.
And he probably will get the better ground that he wants. Triumph, but you're taking an enormous leap of faith, and he wouldn't really interest me. But it's good that he's taking his chance, and it adds a layer to the race. The winner, he's getting grips of things. He's progressing. The Ben Polyard are operating at a different level. I think they're like 11 for 21.
Mhm.
Last time they had a week and a dip off, and now they're really coming back with a vengeance. Probably with a view to Cheltenham, so they've got to kind of maintain that kind of hot streak in. Got a couple of good chances at Kelso as well, I think. So yeah, they can map one out effectively and have a chance, but it's a different assignment, and generally Kempton form doesn't really translate that well to Cheltenham form 3 weeks out.
What about the Dovecote? Because Tripoli Flyer obviously won this really well. Won previously at Musselburgh. There was concern that he had bled from the nose after the race. Like he's probably an each way player at Cheltenham if he goes supreme at best. Fergal O'Brien has said they would probably want soft ground, good ground. Sorry, any sort of a squeak, maybe to.
I love this horse. I love
Yeah.
the way he did it. From 2 out, he did exactly what he did in Musselburgh and just told them apart. He's a serious engine.
Mm-hmm.
His jumping still leaves a lot to be desired, and I think he would get found out in a Supreme like that. And the track against like Musselburgh Kempton, flat right-handed tracks. Cheltenham is totally different. Totally different. Up in grade. It's going to be much tougher for him. And if you make a mistake there, you're not going to get back into it. And he does make mistakes in the first circuit, and that's the problem when his jump's less fluid. And I don't think his engine would be enough to get him out of trouble. I mean, he needs to be seriously special to be where he is at right now as an entity to go forward to compete in a Supreme. So I think there's a big future with him. I'd be minding him probably entries better, but even that's left-handed. But at least it's a flatter track, and it'll give him more of a kind of chance with his hurdling technique, I think. So yeah, he's one to follow. He's a horse I like a lot, but I don't think Cheltenham's his bag.
Move into the Ladbrokes Trophy. Tati Dory for Sam Thomas won this very well, beating Highland with 14 lengths, who stayed on really well at the line. As looks to be heading for entry. You've got Katati Dor entered in the Ultima, entered the National Hunt Chase, entered in the Kim Muir, given a rating of 137. What do you think? It's high in the Ultima market.
It's to be high in the Ultima market because he was so chucked in at Kempton. It was beyond belief. You'd think he like out the back most of the time trying to scratch away.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there it puts Charlie Deutsch on a featherweight, and it goes from the front and look like the winner all the way around in a really competitive 3 mile handicap, which is worth a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more than the Ultima is, and I think that's probably where he has to go now. And he would have a big chance. He's the one in handicap company that would be interesting from the race because he does have a decent kind of back body work out with Kempton that would suit this. And he's young, progressive, and the handicapper may not have caught up with him yet. I mean, he looked like he could go around twice over, really. So yeah, he's of interest in Ultima, I think.
It strikes me that with Highland, like obviously they threw him in here, and I'd imagine they're aiming towards Aintree with him. Like he stayed on powerfully as well. Like he was well beaten, but you
Missed
can't.
the start, he
Yeah.
kind of missed the start and lost his position. And when you do that, Kempton, it usually puts you in the back foot.
Mm-hmm.
And he's emerged out with the pack to close to the second and look the best of the rest. So he's confirmed himself as a decent prospect. I think he would have ran up to if it wasn't as close to the Grand National as it was this year.
Yeah.
I think that's traditionally a better prep, but I think the turnaround just less than 3 weeks probably knackered that plan a little bit. He was second in Jukebox Man, so that's probably why they did go at Kempton. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's probably his kind of track. It maybe was a bit in the sharp side for him, but a mark's reasonable. He'll just about get in the Grand National with 147, maybe just. He'll be gutted if he doesn't.
Yeah.
And Nicky Henderson's obviously always wanted to win that race. It keeps eluding him, so he'd have a squeak from a featherweight. I just wonder if he's got enough back class about him, because I quite liked him for the Pertong last year but the Henderson yard kind of had that bug. I think he would have went really close.
We'll go to Fairy House quickly before looking at Sunday. A couple of things, obviously, more kind of Grand National clue than anything else. The Bobby Joe Chase. Nick Rocket wins at 5-6. Intense Raffles, I think, has actually ran very well here. And I think of the two, the weights, I think Intense Raffles has kind of went up in my estimation after that. Would you back either of these for a Grand National?
That's far out. I wouldn't know. But what Nick Rocket proved though was that a mark of 160 is fair enough.
Yes.
I thought he would take a bit of time to get over the Fiestas, and he might be slightly off his game. Maybe even was, but I think the weight pull that he got at the terms kind of helped him over the line. But again, what he did from the second last to the line was impressive. He knows where the line is. He's maturing. He's very efficient, and he's getting to grips with the game a lot better now. I think he did quite well to win because I had no doubt that Intense Raffles was very well primed for this.
He's been given 156 Intense Raffles in Ireland for that, and he's 151 in Aintree. So it's interesting. Like
Irish National, with it, he just lacked that requisite gear, and in an old-fashioned Grand National, I think Intense Raffles would be very, very interesting. But now, quick ground, classy. I just whether 3 or 4 might kind of outpace him, and he'd be 5th or 6th if it ran like last year. So I'd like to see soft ground, and I'd maybe like to see a more kind of truer pace for a kind of old Irish Grand National winner to win it. But Aya Maximus did it. Is he of that class? Maybe not, but he's got a mark to work with. So yeah, he's both of them are definitely on the shortlist. And as you said, with the weights, it'll be much more an Intense Raffles' favour than Nick Rocket's. But I think Nick Rocket was maybe a bit more value for more, because I think he might have used this as more of an actual prep. Well, I think Intense Raffles was probably closer to 100% than he was.
We'll go into the Colreevy, obviously, bioluminescence. I had a lot of interest in this race. I know she was giving away weight. I think she was giving away £9 to Spindleberry, but I don't think she should have ran to begin with. I don't think it's not enhanced her credentials at all, but she was a bit disappointing. Spindleberry's done it well, to be fair, but I just was expecting a bit more from bioluminescence.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on a Cheltenham ticket, you
She's now eight. Like,
you'd be miffed. You'd be miffed
yeah,
at why she's ran twice since it, and similar grueling soft ground
really
conditions
soft ground.
behind Danzig City and now behind Spindleberry, and she was made to look pretty one paced again.
Yeah.
Got to say, she looks like a 3 miler. She looks like soft ground's an absolute necessity, and you wonder if that early progress has kind of tailed off a little bit, and she's maybe been found out by a slightly better grade of horse now.
I think it's the Porter's Charm thing. I think she's just been run too much, and now you're like, unless it is ridiculously soft, which it could be in the Friday, it has been in the past few years. It's very hard to see her even
Well,
going.
that's it's the kind of thing with the Mayor's programs is that you've got a lot of these kind of listed pots and the money's there and you want to get black type and you kind of want to strike when the iron's hot with them quite a lot. So sometimes you get over racing it and they kind of dip down spring festivals. While Dino Blue, I know she was around the 4-1 mark around Christmas, but after some underwhelming runs, but you can just see the kind of she's been trained to peak for now, for spring. While maybe the other mares that caught the eye at the start of the year have done their winning at that
Yeah,
level, and then your spring mares are kind of coming back to the fore. The problem is, and I had the problem with Constitution Hill and Galloping Deschamps, is that they were 41 and they were kind of going, well, 41, 4 months out. That now represents a stroke of genius stuff now. 5-10 years ago it didn't. So that's the kind of thing now that anti-post punters are now getting grips with. You either have to just simply take it or leave it. Bioluminescence, it was disappointing. Didn't jump as well either, like she did the last day. And soft ground's key, and you just wonder if they've kind of done a little bit too much too soon with her in regards to spring. But if it turns up bottomless and she come back, maybe she's got a chance. But yeah, the sheen's kind of gone off her a little bit.
we'll go quickly just on to Sunday at Naas. No, actually, what we'll do first, we'll do the National Spirit. And the Mean Lion, again, National Spirit hurdle, showing a lot of grit to win that race, beating Steel Ali, who looked to be very much in the case to win the race. The Mean Lion is one of those lovely horses you'd love to have.
Absolute warrior of an
Yeah,
honest horse. Salva, bitterly disappointing. That's
yeah,
never again territory now. Not as good as he thought.
yeah.
But still, I thought he nipped it from the front and very unlucky not to hold on. But yeah, these kind of like soft ground grade twos in the Mean Lion intermediate distance, just absolutely his bag, isn't it? Versatile. It was a very good handicapper before and making the grade, making the step up in grade quite efficiently as well. So yeah, those kind of races that are just there for him to plunder, and he wants it more than the rest for sure. So yeah, he's absolutely trooper of a horse. You'd want to go to war with him all the time.
Go to Naas quickly. A horse I liked, I think, could be a bit of an each way player in Albert Bartlett. Not just saying the same colours, but could be a similar type of horse to Stella. So the Jacob's Ladder went out to 5-1, shown a lot to win that race over 2.5. Looks like 3 miles could be his bag in the long term. Wouldn't rule him out at 25 for a Bartlett.
Yeah, it's that kind of race, isn't it? There's a good 7 or 8 that are lining up at 20, 25, 33-1 bracket that you'd quite like the makeup of. So he's one of them. Yeah, he's getting experience. He's gradually improving all the time. He did it reasonably well. I think it was entitled to. I'm surprised he was that big on the day, like 5-1, 11-2. But yeah, I think Ballybow might be a bit better than him in truth. But that doesn't mean in a race like that they can't turn it around. So yeah, he's got a bit to find, you'd think, but he's a kind of hardy type that you'd like to see take his chance in it.
Obviously, as well, the Pertemps qualifier, final one of the season. Will the Wise won for Gavin Cromwell. Looked to have been very much thrown in. Very big conditions. Now 7-1 for the Pertemps. We both liked Pattern Merchant, who got in fourth. Like we mentioned, the turnaround. I think Will the Wise is quite short based on the turnaround, but the rating that he's been given of 131 does look quite nice. And I'd imagine Cornerstone Walsh will claim 5 on him.
Yeah, what a talented rider he is.
Yeah.
He's had a brilliant season, and he'd be, everyone must be over him for the Martin Pipe and
Yeah, there's
things like
another
that.
one that's getting a lot of reviews as well, a conditional. I can't remember his name though.
Yeah,
Is it Tiernan Roach, maybe? Is that the
yeah,
name?
there's a lot of good ones in
Yeah.
Ireland. You know, and even over here there are decent ones for sure. But yeah, it's kind of the race to start booking these kind of jockeys for certain races now as well. You know, they'll be firming up those plans. That really was a war of attrition. No, I
Yeah.
mean that battle. I mean, you'd have to doubt all four that qualified. You know how much that took out of them. Part of Merchant, I think he might be a bit of a doubtful steer. He travelled in it nicely, made a mistake actually, and had to go wide. Did okay, you know, finishing in the frame. He might be outpointed at Cheltenham. Lucky Larry ran quite well. He's got to be in the 14-16 to 1 bracket. Looks pretty interesting this race.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's one that's pretty interesting in it. I think he might be more of a kind of a bit has a bit more staying power. The top two kind of motored away quite well. You know, the winner's obviously pretty progressive. He could be two ahead of them as well, and that's
Yeah.
why he's at the top of the market. But yeah, you're happy to kind of wait and see the final plan forward for that race. I think.
Yeah, we'll move into this weekend. What's coming up? Pretty good card up north in Scotland for Kelso. We'll start with the Premier Chase. Looks like Grey Dawning is coming here instead of the Gold Cup. You've got them at 4-5. Obviously disappointing in the King George, but the fact that they're coming here and kind of swerving the Gold Cup makes you think that it's maybe a kind of prep. This is a kind of plan for the moment. Go to Aintree and then have a crack at the Gold Cup next year. Rocco's in here as well. 6-5 looks to be a two-horse race between the two here.
Yeah, I mean the rest have got enough to find, haven't they?
Yeah,
And Grey Dawning should be shorter. He should win this.
think so.
Michael's better. He's a better horse than a Rocco. Comfortably a better horse. You know, I mean, Grey
Are you
Dawning's
concerned of the fact though they've just completely thought we're not going
no.
Gold Cup?
That's I mean, Dan Skelton, as I said earlier, he's honest enough to say he's given a 65-day break. I think the Gold Cup's maybe a bit too much too soon for him,
Mhm.
and they'll go Kelso Aintree this year. And that's it's fine by me. You know, I think he's forward enough. I think he'll win this. So £3 penalty to give to Rocco. I think that's absolutely fine. Yeah, I think he's all things being equal. You know, I think he's just probably a better horse. And you know, he's £10 better on official ratings, and he's given three. Um, yeah, he's Kempton probably unsuitable. This is a sharper test. Stiff uphill finish, drying ground. I think that's fine. I think Iroko needs it softer than he does as well. So
Yeah.
45, I think he should be at 47.
Okay, let's move into the Premier Novices Hurdle. Two joint favourites, Good and Clever at 4-1. Chart topper for Willie Mullins. Now, this is the one that Patrick sent over to Weatherby a few weeks ago, I think. So interesting if they are coming here. I know Patrick maybe did say that they were coming here with a couple. One I like for Ben Paul and Vanderpool. Again, on a three-timer so far off running here. I thought it was very good last time out at Ludlow. Good before that as well at Huntingdon. Both starts has shown a lot of improvement, and I think he is very much a horse to follow this year.
Yeah, I think he's the one to be on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's progressive. He's won 3 out of 3. The Yard are in absolutely flying form. This has been the plan. They won it last year with Personal Ambition. A similar young, nimble type of horse that's going through the grade very, very nicely. Yeah, I'd be siding with him. Yeah, I genuinely do think he'll win this. Listen to your heart as a chance. You know, disappointing last day for Skeltons, but
Mm-hmm.
I think each way it tends isn't that bad. Drifted a little bit, which I mean, you do wonder if it's going to be finalised. But you know, Harry Skelton will be coming up for Grade Dawning. I expect them to have a really good day at Kel. So I mean, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that they could have one hand in this. You know, David Power Jockey's Cup thing and really dominate up
Yeah.
here. So yeah, listen to your heart. There's a big chance each way as well. So yeah, she's a one at the prices, and I think at the top of the market, Vanderpool's pretty hard to knock.
Into the Mode battle, I really like one here, and I think obviously like it is probably based on what we've discussed earlier. Con for David Pipe had beaten Tripoli Flyer two times ago before Musselburgh, and has is now Tripoli Flyer's £15 higher in the ratings. Con's in here off 127. I think very unexposed. think it's got a very good chance here.
Snap again. Nothing more to add. I think this is a massive chance as well. The yard's form has dipped slightly a little bit, is worrying me, but he does it at many runners. I don't think that's form. I think he's a lovely each way price in this.
Yeah, I think
Hopefully Flyers say Frank the form. He's got a big shout, isn't he?
Ricciel's interesting. Obviously, I would imagine they're coming here with a view to the bonus. What do you think of her?
Yeah, backed her at Leopardstown when she won quite well. That was a long-term plan for a family-run race. Obviously did it with the shunter.
Mm-hmm.
She'd have less options. Not quite as excited about her as the others. Tell them the names interesting at the top of the market. I think Favour of Fortune might need this again. He's top weight. I think he's more interesting at a flatter track like Ayr. I think Scottish Champion Hurdle is more interesting than the more Bartford. But tell her the names interesting. I think he'd be the main danger to Duran Con. But there's good horses that we've seen deforming. Kraken Rhapsody's probably been laid out for this because he won it last year, and his mark's not too different. Each way for the local trade, Dune Williams Yard. Slugger can go well, probably a bit high in the handicap. He has one around here. Gentleman Bill says a decent shout. And won a wild price. Ginger Mail, if he comes here, I know he's in the other one, but he won at Ayr 2 starts ago, and it was over 2 mile, two mile and a half. But they went an absolute crawl that day, and he has kind of 2 mile pace from the last won it.
Mm-hmm.
He was pulled up at Kelso last time, maybe a bit of a concern, but I could have thought that was a prep for the more battle.
Yeah,
and he's out to 40s here. He's entered in another race up and trip, but I would rather see him here because I think he's quick enough to do it. And he has ran historically quite well in the past here, so there's a couple of outsiders to kind of note there. It usually benefits being midfield in this race, and that's where Duran Con would be. So he's definitely top of my list.
yeah. Another really strong fancy I have is at Newbury in the Greatwood Gold Cup. I think Billy the Real Big Red is a big chance here for Greenhall and Guerrero. Second behind Jaguar at Cheltenham on Trials Day. I thought a really big run, kept on pretty well to the line. Entered in the novice handicap, but I'd imagine they're coming here and swerving that. And I think off 134, he's got a big shout.
Yeah, they've got another at the top of the market, haven't they, for that?
Yeah, Iroko's in here as well, yeah. And Jaguar was...
Yeah, Iroko might defect here if the ground, but look, Kelso seems to be the plan there. Can do kids in there, which is, he's won the Coral Gold Cup, Grand National Project. Just wonder how far forward he'd be off top weight in this. And Billy Real Big Red's got a chance. He was a bit unlucky at Cheltenham last day. He's got a favourite chance, but I really like Vincenzo on this.
Okay.
At 9s each way. I think it's a wonderful each way price. The Yard are an absolute flying form. His form has been reasonably well franked since. At Sandown over 2 miles. Doyen the Bar, he beat by 3 1/4 lengths. And I watched him at Ayr on Monday, and he absolutely hacked. I know it was a 3-runner Mickey Mouse race, but he was in a completely different league to them. He should have been 1-2 instead of 10-11 when he went off. It was crazy. Put him in his place 3.5 by 3.5 lengths easily. There's more to come up and trip. The third's also won since that day. He ran quite well behind Caliph de Burley at Cheltenham New Year's Day. And he's got form figures of 1-2-1, so I think there's more in him. And Dylan Johnson taking off 3 off 1-3-4, and he's off 10 stone 10. You know what? He can be very hard to catch and be very tough to beat here because he's very young, progressive. And he's a nice price at 8.9-1. So yeah, he's interesting. St. Segal isn't without a chance either. Course and distance winner. Likes it around Newbury. He's just about double figures. So yeah, there's interesting ones in behind the market leaders for sure.
We'll move into the Grimthorpe at Doncaster. Again, not much of an opinion at the moment. That might change. Anything you like in there?
Interesting aspect is that this isn't a Premier meeting in Newbury is, because this is a better card.
Yeah.
Some scope, probably the rightful favourite. Yeah. I think he's be the place to be. C&D. He's inconsistent, but usually when he pulls up, he can kind of come back with a decent run afterwards. I'd imagine this has been the plan for him more than certain other horses. Henry Brook is jocked up on White Rhino, Guerrero. He's a number one, so might be a bit concerning for his kind of fancies elsewhere at Newbury and Kelso if he's at Doncaster. So yeah, and another one at a price here, 16s under supervision for Nigel Twiston Davis yard. He's down to 127. He won this in 2022, and he was a 6-year old. He won it quite well. Won by 2 lengths. Mr. Malarkey was in there. Cloth Cap, he beat Le Milos. It was a good race that he won.
Mm-hmm.
Held up off the pace. He's now £5 lower, and he was fourth the last day, and he's just threatening as if he's coming back to form. And he's a good freshen up for this. So him at a price, if he takes up his chance, he'd definitely be of each way interest for people.
Okay, we'll move into Navan. Just a couple of races to talk about. The Flying Bolt Novices Chase. We don't have declarations here, but Champ Kylie's in here. Nürburgring's in here. I'll be astonished if he goes for this. Like, unless they're looking to get a quick run into him. But after a 2 month break, you'd imagine that maybe just an entry just to, I don't even know what they're doing there. The biggest horse on the planet, Gernot Lappin's in here as well, as is What's Up Darling. This could be a tidy race. Anything in here you like?
Not really. Champ Kigley goes off shade on his own, doesn't he? Probably,
Yeah, I'd imagine so,
what it be Blood Destiny. It's just whether Champ Kigley's an out and out 2-miler. That's the kind of thing that's kind of open to kind of question. He'd probably get away with it, but if he doesn't, Nürburgring would be the obvious one to take advantage. But he's surely Cheltenham bound anyway, and won't take it up. Gernot Lappin might be the flying the ointment, given the yard, given that this is probably his target. He's rating 143, and he's in there. He's maybe he's got more kind of natural pace in Champ Kyle as well. So I mean, he might be the one to side with if you want to get away from Champ Kyle. So yeah, we'll wait and kind of see what the final market is.
There is an interesting entry in the Webster Cup now. If this horse takes up here, there's already chat coming out that they might avoid Cheltenham. El Fabiolo is entered here. You'd imagine if they're going here, they might be going to Aintree.
He's not going to Cheltenham.
Yeah.
Too much after that fall,
Yeah.
and I don't think he was ever really going to make it anyway. Because if he was, he would be higher in the market anti-post all season than he was. So I think he's always been behind the 8 ball, and I think they'll just try to get his confidence up. And moving him up to 2.5 miles, I think it's a good move.
Yeah.
And you've got more options at Aintree at 2.5 as well than you do at Cheltenham. So I think this is sensible what they're doing. Plenty of entries there, there's good horses in this. Blood Destiny, I would like to see drop back to 2 miles. Appreciate it. This is his kind of niche level. Ashby Meadow needs the ground to dry out if he's going to run, I would think. It's probably why Phil Door's here. Gentleton to me, he's got an entry in the plate, going up to 2.5, and interesting. Grange Clare West has entered, who's quite prominent in the Gold Cup market after his exploits in the Irish Gold Cup where he was second. So it's an interesting little race, but you've just got to wait to see what Willie Mullins finalises with, really, and see the final makeup of it.
I think it'd be very interesting to see if they do go well, Fabiolo here, and obviously we will have a column on Saturday with this, with the action as well. Callum will have his picks on his social media as well. Let's move into I'll look at our anti-post kind of folders. Sad news over during the week, obviously, with Delta work, obviously not, well, kind of anti-post book aside, a really, really underrated horse, and a horse that obviously 2-time gold cross-country winner, had always been very high. Won it obviously Upper Thomps as well. Just a really likeable horse. Maybe not nice I'm going to say here, but I think one of the most disliked winners in history when he won the cross-country beating Tiger Roll, but you can't help but appreciate just how good a horse he was.
I wasn't disliked this day in my house when he beat Tiger Roll. Got to say, I was all over him.
Did you?
Yeah, no, fantastic horse.
Yeah.
And his durability in his career is incredible. He won the Tops at a really young age.
Yeah.
He took part in a terrific novice chase, 3 mile grade 1, where he was unlucky to beat and he ran really well in the Gold Cup as well, and he found his niche in the cross country and plundered a good few of them. And he obviously went very close in the Grand National last year. As a 12-year-old, he still had a massive chance in the cross country this year, even though it was a handicap. So yeah, but I mean, it's just the fragility of horses. It's something you could be struck down by that colic, and next week
Yeah.
the worst happens. But yeah, my anti-post bets, it's completely irrelevant in relation
Yeah, of
to
course.
his career. It's a stellar career. It's quite sad to lose him in that way. Tragic for the yard. He did just fantastic what he did. As a hurdler, as a handicapper, as a graded chaser. It's very rare you find horses that are able to do all of those to a high level, and he managed to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic horse and thoughts of with connections. Just moving into our anti-post work. We don't have a pick this week. We'll do a tracker horse later before we wrap up. Be Aware get 137 for the Coral Cup. 8-1 now in most places. I would imagine you're happy with that rating.
Well, that was his rating anyway.
Yeah.
This weights lunch thing is an absolute pile of garbage, isn't it? I mean, yeah, you know what the weight's going to be roughly.
Was
You
there
know what
any
every British,
was there
the
any
British horse.
weights where the jinky the weights? Was there any was there anything that caught your eye? Maybe too
No,
lenient? No.
not really. I mean, it's just a number. I mean, it's just like +5, +7 here, or I mean, anyone following it kind of roughly knows what's going to happen. The fact that there's a song and dance about it's just absurd. I mean, it was well known in the French website that Kopek to me would get 136. And I said it here a couple of weeks ago. He's rated 136. What's he going to do? Because he's trained by Willie Mullins, and you haven't seen him. The British handicapper's obliged to put him up to mid 140s or put a random number on him. It's utterly ludicrous.
I thought you'd maybe be liking the fact Gold Tweet get 151. I think that's a horse
Well, that's his
you're written
mark,
all over
wasn't
it.
it?
Yeah, would you back him?
No, I wouldn't back him at all. I
I
wouldn't
wouldn't
back him
back him for
for
anything. I
I
don't
wouldn't,
get where the 151s come from.
I wouldn't back him in a one-runner race in my garden. It's a 20-yard sprint. I mean, no. I mean, the thing is, the French horses, is French ratings, and it's a rough guide, and but I mean that was kind of his mark. That is his Steers hurdle mark. I mean, yeah, I mean he would be kind of that would pretty much sum him up. I mean the British horse, right, they're all rated.
Mm-hmm.
All these trainers that were there, why are they there? What are they revealing? To reveal the same mark. I mean, it's just mental to me. It's an absolute waste of time, and the fact that it's an event is ridiculous. Oh yeah, there's a progressive Irish horse has got an extra £5. It's been trained probably accordingly with the race in mind to
Yeah.
cover that. So I mean, I don't see any significant bombshell at all, and it's all overblown. And I think that's kind of why you've just got to kind of stick to your own lane and trust what you're doing, and kind of and ignore quite a lot of the kind of bluff and bluster about it, because
Yeah.
you kind of have you have a 95% idea of what 95% of the horses would do. I think you're only interested if you've actually had bets on it.
Yeah.
If you have backed an Irish one beforehand, then yeah, your interest is obviously massively heightened. If you're not and you're waiting to keep your powder dry, you just look at them and go, yeah.
Well,
It's no
just a
surprise to me.
just a couple that caught my eye. Like a few weeks ago, I was saying I hope Super Sunday gets into the Martin Pipe. He would have got in 143, but he didn't enter him. He's in the Coral Cup. Imagine like he might have a chance in that. I think there's a few interesting ones that will maybe Asian Master getting 144. I think's interesting. Like again, that's a Willie Mullins horse. Sama Jest is 142 in the
Yeah,
Kim Muir.
yeah, they seem to kind of be caught on to him now for the Kim year,
Yeah, like
which is interesting because
the
I
one
think
I
that
the
you
one I actually prefer in that's Mint Boy get 138 from Ireland. I think that's more of a kind of
between them
interesting
all.
reveal. Yeah, that's a good. Like, not saying I like the way you're thinking levels, but I think there maybe is a wee bit more to work with there. We do get 141. That was the one that was very highly rated for the Gordon Elliott team. Unbeaten in six, I think, beat Joyous.
Yeah, that was the horse, wasn't it? That did get a big whack, I
Yeah,
think.
I think
Um,
£7 she got.
Yeah, I think she was the one. Yeah, but again, that's probably because she hasn't won subsequently, and the collateral for the second, third, and fourth has boosted it massively. So
Yeah.
that's why that's been readjusted accordingly. They were talking about possibly supplementing for the Mayor's Hurdle.
Mm-hmm.
Brighter days ahead goes to the champion, and I wouldn't be against that. I
No.
think the old course would suit her better than the new course. And there's a high likelihood that Kopek to me runs in the Martin Pipe now, given the way the market's moved. So you might actually want to avoid him and
Yeah.
go Mayor's Hurdle and have a swing at a Grade 1 level. But it's all going to sort itself out at some point. They'll be looking at their marks, seeing what they've got, thinking that will it roughly tally up with what they expected in Ireland, and then plan it out accordingly, really. So yeah, it's getting close to sort of. It's in that kind of between mode where you're kind of just trying to sort it out and finalise plans and see where they all actually fit in and whether they're well in or not. I suspect the Irish will be a bit happier overall
Yeah.
this year than last year.
Mm-hmm. I
The
would go along
handicap.
that. I would go along that. We got a quick tracker horse before we wrap up.
No.
I thought one that caught my eye was a Henry de Bromhead horse that has been entered into the Martin Pipe. Tap on the Go, been given an
Yeah,
entry
that's
a
been
rating
the
of
one.
135. I can see that running well in the Martin Pipe. Don't know who they'll get on it, but I think I really fancied him during the season at one race. I can't remember if it was at Christmas or before that, but I think 135 could be pretty kind to that horse, so we could have one there. And maybe towards the Irish Grand National Trial, I think Will do ran a very, very good race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
I thought our power ran quite well
yeah.
when third. We get a bit tired later on, but I think that's because of the pace of the stablemate went and it's so well in bottom weight. And I can see him running well in a good ground Scottish National.
Yeah.
He's down a couple of pounds since then. He plugged on okay for third. It looked as if he get tired from the back of the last. I think that he was kind of the injection of pace kind of found him out, and he maybe did a bit too much too soon because he was there with the Skellin horse, who was another one that held to him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Keep an eye on him, I would say as well,
Yeah.
because it's pulled up and it doesn't look good in the figures. But he was bang there. He just didn't stay the trip. He'll win something. He'll win a 2.5 mile handicap at some point. And that might well be at Aintree or Ayr. Probably more options at Ayr than the Hill House Quarry, for instance, at Ayr. For the Skelton Yard, he's definitely a workable mark. So yeah, those two out of that race at Kempton probably significant moving forward.
Callum, thank you very much as always. If you want to see more of us, then tune in on Sunday night for our Cheltenham preview show.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, we're getting dust ourselves down, ready for that.
Yep. Thank you very much for tuning in, folks. We'll be back next week with a regular show before the festival. We'll see you all soon.